Next is the expense ratio. Okay, now expense ratio will have administrative ratio, selling and distribution ratio, and finance ratio. Okay, why? Because under operating expense, how many expenses are there? You have office related expense, that is admin, you have selling and distribution related expense, and the last is you have financial expense or finance expense. Okay, like this. Okay, so this expense explains the relationship between each item of expenditure and net sales. Yesterday's lecture only I had said that every ratio under the revenue ratios will be with respect to net sales. The focus is net sales. The epicenter is net sales. Okay, ये जो भी खर्चे आप करते हो ये आप क्यों करते हो? So that you can get your sales, you can earn revenue, right? So all these expenses are in connection to sales. That is why all the formulas will have net sales as the denominator. Okay. Um, if you look into admin expense ratio, see the formula: admin expense upon net sales into 100, selling and distribution expense upon net sales into 100, financial expense upon net sales into 100. So everywhere the denominator is net sales. Okay, clear? Is this clear to everyone? Acknowledge it in the chat box. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Okay, fine. Next, what are the functions of this ratio, or what is the purpose of studying this ratio? Okay, so the purpose is it will help you to know the cause, that is the reason behind the overall change in the operating ratio. Okay, then it will indicate the efficiency of management in controlling the expense and thereby improving the profitability, obviously. Okay, so operating ratio, this is expense ratio, and this is operating ratios. Okay, these are further categorized. See, like this, students, pay attention to all these things. This is very important, very important. ये सब लिखो, write all these things. Operating ratios are classified. What is the formula? Yesterday we had done this ratio: COGS plus operating expense upon net sales into 100. Okay, so can you see this operating expense? This operating expense has what? It has admin, it has selling and distribution, and it has financial expense. Okay, I repeat, operating ratios formula is COGS plus operating expense upon net sales. जिसमें से operating expense formula is includes what? Admin plus selling and distribution plus financial expense, which I just showed you. Okay. Then COGS ratio, if you are separately asked in exam how to calculate COGS ratio, so it is COGS upon net sales into 100. If you are asked in exam to calculate operating expense ratio, then it will be operating expense upon net sales into 100. Then you have to calculate individually all the operating expenses. Admin expense upon net sales into 100, selling and distribution expense upon net sales into 100, finance expense upon net sales into 100. Okay, and COGS में also there is further classification. COGS क्या क्या होता है? Material, labor, and manufacturing expense, that is factory related expenses. Okay, so accordingly the formula, see, your numerator will keep changing, but your denominators everywhere it is net sales. Okay, see here I have clearly mentioned financial expense के लिए that excluding interest on loans and debentures. Okay, when I was teaching you vertical financial statements, I had made this very clear to you all that interest on loan, on bank loan taken, and interest on debentures. Okay, आप लोग इसको अलग से सब्ट्रैक्ट करोगे. Okay, नेट प्रॉफिट बिफोर इंटरेस्ट एंड टैक्सेस के पहले. ओके, एम आई क्लियर? समझ में आ रहा है? इज दिस क्लियर टू एवरीवन? Okay, so this is the detailed bifurcation of operating ratios. Okay, the numerator is COGS plus operating expense, and you can even further sub-classify COGS also as material, labor, factory, and further classify operating expense as admin, selling and distribution, and financial expenses. समझ में आया? Acknowledge it in the chat box. Okay. Next, operating profit. Okay, operating profit. So what is the formula? Operating profit upon net sales into 100. Whatever answer you get, that will be presented as percentage, obviously. Okay? Because when answer आता है 30, तो 30%. Answer is 40, then you will get 40% like this. It indicates the relationship between operating profit and sales, and it is also known as net operating profit ratio. The other name for operating profit ratio is net operating profit ratio. And what is the reason of understanding this ratio? इसका purpose क्या है? It's a profitability ratio, so it will always explain the relationship between profit and sales. It indicates profits from operations. What operations? What do you mean by operations? From day-to-day business activity operations. It means that. Okay. Then how efficient the company is in managing all its operations. What operations? बिजनेस में ऑपरेशंस क्या होता है? बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ गुड्स. ओके, तो बाइंग एंड सेलिंग में भी क्या क्या आता है? हाउ मच डू यू प्रोड्यूस? प्रोडक्शन एक्टिविटी, परचेज एक्टिविटी, एंड योर इन्वेंट्री रिलेटेड एक्टिविटी, देन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन रिलेटेड एक्टिविटी. सो ये सब ऑपरेशंस में आते हैं. Okay, so when I have written in point number 2 indicates profits from operations, then here I have mentioned the reason of operation. What is operations? It is production, purchase, inventory, administration, and selling and distribution. Okay, how much amount is left to meet non-operating expense and on net profits? This I had this point was there in this one also. Operating ratios में भी था ये same point था. I had explained it in the last lecture. Okay, then this, each company has to decide its own standard ratio. Okay, this also I have explained in the last lecture. Company can decide on the basis of its own past operating ratio. It can compare the ratio of his own company with other companies of the same nature of business, and either they can take the average for the entire industry. This is also I had this point also I had explained in the last lecture. Entire industry का meaning क्या होता है? Okay, मैंने वो example दिया था पेन इंडस्ट्री का, शूज़ वाला, और एक और एग्जाम्पल था. ओके, पेन इंडस्ट्री, शूज़ एंड बुक्स वाला. ओके, देयर आई हैड टोल्ड यू हाउ डू दे कैलकुलेट द एवरेज. सेम concept is here. Okay, then net profit ratio. So net profit after tax upon net sales into 100. Okay. Now in some textbooks, if you refer any textbooks or if you go through any of the textbooks, they write here net profit before tax upon net sales into 100. This is the formula that is what they give, which is wrong. Okay, which is wrong. It has to be when I'm calculating net profit ratio, the numerator has to be net profit after paying the taxes. That is income tax. Am I clear? Acknowledge it in the chat box. Till here, everybody has understood. So net profit ratio explains the relationship between obviously net profit and sales. Okay, functions functions of this ratio is what it explains. It explains the net profits which is earned from all type of activity for the entire business. This word is important. All type of activity. Okay, now what do you mean by all type of activity? I have given that in point number 2. See, it measures the overall profitability from operating activity. Now, operating activity means buying and selling of goods. This I have done yesterday also. I told you what are operating activities. तो बिजनेस के लिए ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटी क्या होता है? बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ गुड्स. बाइंग एंड सेलिंग ऑफ गुड्स के थ्रू वॉट एवर मनी यू गेट दैट इज कंसिडर्ड एज सेल्स. Yes, I said this yesterday. Apart from this, whatever income is there, that is always considered as non-operating income. Okay, if you remember your vertical financial statements, आपको ये याद आ जाएगा. Correct? Yeah. Non-operating income. हम क्या करते हैं स्टेटमेंट में ऐड करते हैं. Correct? Why? Because it increase our profit. Okay. So what comes under non-operating income? Bad debts recovery, interest on investments, okay, like this. These type of income I'm talking about, okay. Yeah. But sales is the only income which arises out of operating activity. Just remember this, okay? Yeah. So operating activities means अगर आपको कोई पूछे what is operating activity, your answer should be it means buying and selling of goods. Okay. Then all type of activities में second comes is financing activity. Now, what are these activities? Borrowing and lending of funds. Okay. If you have given Okay. Borrowing and lending of funds में आता है loan. And loan can be, you can have loan taken or you can have loan given. Okay. This comes under financing activity. Okay. Fine. And last is buying and selling of investments. Okay. So this is the activity that is considered. So profit arising out of these three activities. Okay. We will do this in chapter cash flow. Okay, when I will do cash flow with you, that time I will explain these three activities in detail, because cash flow mein sums are based on these three activities. Okay, yeah. So I'm just giving you a very short introduction to all this, to this word, all types of activities. Understood? Clear, everyone? Acknowledge it in the chat box. Okay. Then it helps to know how efficient the company is in managing all the activities. All the activities, matlab, again, I'm talking about these three activities. Okay. How much amount is available for appropriations? What is appropriations? Keeping money aside. Keeping your profits aside. Aside. Okay. That is why from the financial statements we subtract appropriations. If you remember. Okay. Then note down this. Okay, same thing what we did yesterday. Based on past net profit, based on the net profit of others in the same nature of business, and average net profit for the entire industry. Is it clear till here? Just acknowledge in the chat box. Okay, next note down this stock turnover ratio. COGS upon average stock. Okay. Related question, a small question on stock turnover ratio we had done under balance sheet ratios, if you remember. Yeah. In 2 3 sums of balance sheet ratio, this was asked stock turnover ratio. Okay. But actually, it's a part of रेवेन्यू रेशियोज नॉट बैलेंस शीट बट वो बैलेंस शीट में पूछा था तो हमने कैलकुलेट किया था बट स्टॉक टर्नओवर रेशियो इज अ पार्ट ऑफ रेवेन्यू रेशियोज okay so COGS upon average stock so whatever answer you get it will denote number of times stock gets converted into sales. It indicates that. Okay, note down this. Is it clear up to here? Just acknowledge it in the chat box. Okay. इसमें से we know how to calculate COGS. We have seen that this numerator part. And how will you get a denominator? Average stock. Opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. Okay. Now this opening and closing stock obviously you will get from your revenue statement. That is P&L. Opening stock, right? We add and closing stock we less from the statement. And then next, write down this note. In absence of information, closing stock can be used instead of average stock in the formula. But this will happen only when opening stock is not given. Okay? Condition applied. Next, stock velocity. Velocity means the speed. Okay, so we want to calculate the speed in terms of days or months or weeks. Okay, will depend on the question obviously. Is this clear up to your acknowledge in the chat box? Is it clear to your? Okay, fine. Then note down this. Okay, it's an activity ratio which explains the relationship between sales and stock. This is what I said earlier. It calculates the speed at which stock is being converted into sales. It calculates the velocity to indicate the period taken by the average stock to be sold out. That is the speed at which it is converted into sales. Then indicates the efficiency of managing stock and utilizing it to generate into sales. Is it done till here? Please acknowledge it in the chat box. All these highlights with yellow are important points to remember. And do mention this. Okay. How is the standard ratio, stock turnover ratio identified? Either the same logic based on the past performance of the company or on the basis of others in the same industry, that is with the same nature of business, and the